The quest for dirt. People still think they can believe everything they read. If that were true, then I would be a money-hungry, neglectful, pushy stage mom. Why doesn't anyone ever called a stage dad? When I read something like that, especially something that's not only untrue but patently vicious, I go through a gamut of emotions. It's a mixture of anger, hurt, and bewilderment. How can they say these things? Over the years, I have developed a thicker skin when it comes to the mudslinging. A certain callousness develops, probably a protective mechanism. It's actually best to just ignore it and go about my business, and that's what I most often do. But when something is printed about our family that is really below the belt, I admit it does hurt. It then that I get on my knees and pray, God, you know who I am, you know what I've done and haven't done, you know the real me. Please remind me of who I am and who you created me to be. When I need some human reassurance, I pick up the phone and call someone from home, a friend who knows everything about me, who can instantly sort out a lie from the truth. Sometimes I just need a friend to talk me through it, and then I feel much better. At times people have asked me why I don't just sue whatever magazine or TV show is spreading lies about my family. It's almost assumed that if I don't bring a lawsuit against someone, then whatever he or she said must be true. Have you ever noticed how few celebrities sue the tabloids? That's because it just doesn't pay. You can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and months of time and energy, and your only payoff will be a tiny retraction in the smallest font known to fonts, buried in the back pages of the magazine. As a rule, it's simply not worth it. 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and sometimes it can be worth millions of dollars too, even if people discount what is printed in a magazine. It's hard to argue with a photo, but don't be deceived. Photos can be distorted in any number of ways. I'm not talking about airbrushing here. We all know when a woman past 40 has no wrinkles, something is going on. I'm talking about the ways that some photographers get the photos in the first place, and then what they do with those photos to tell their own version of the story. For example, the magazines often use photos of my grandsons crying on their covers. First of all, why is this free country of ours has a free speech turned into anything goes? Why isn't it necessary to obtain permission from a child's parents to have a photo of that child published in a magazine, never mind the cover? We are used to seeing the adorable faces of celebrity babies in the covers of magazines, to see Suri Cruz and Violet Affleck and Preston and Jaden splashed all over the newsstand. But do we ever stop to wonder how those photos were obtained? It truly puzzles me why it's even legal for magazines to use a photo of my grandsons without first asking for clearance from Kevin or Britney. And then there are the crying photos. The reasons those boys are crying is they are scared of all those flashbulbs going off in the faces, all those men shouting, and the chaos and the noise. What toddler wouldn't be scared of that kind of commotion? In their everything lives, Jaden and Preston are generally happy boys, smiling and content, but by their use of those crying photos, the magazines can paint a picture of two miserable children. I cannot for the life of me look at those magazine covers because it kills me. That's when I want to bring out my umbrella and beat someone. You wouldn't believe the methods the rag media use to get information and photos. Digging through garbage. That's the least of it. You can go ahead and give right into my dumpster and rummage around my crumpled receipts and bills and pizza boxes, but don't endanger someone by chasing me and my family at 100 miles per hour. I agree with George Clooney, who recently spoke out against the bounty hunter frame of mind that became the norm of the most paparazzi. He is referring to the practice of the paparazzi culture, which sets a price on a certain photo, say a movie star's first baby bump, or a picture that proves that a certain star is dating another star. When the price is high, those photographers will stop at nothing to capture that big money shot. I recently found out that the bounty on the first photo of Jamie Lynn's baby bump was $100,000, with the probably added bonus of another $300,000 for worldwide rights. Is it just me, or is it that just plain disturbing? These members of the media will push and shove each other, run red lights, engage in high-speed chases, and drive extremely close to the car being driven by the celebrity. It can degenerate quickly into a very dangerous situation. Clooney even took up for Britney, defending her somewhat for running that red light. There's 8 guys with cameras at night in the middle of the street, he told Entertainment Tonight. Referring to the video footage, there are no rules now. It's getting to the point where people who are not involved are getting hurt. Thankfully, most of the time the paparazzi are simply a nuisance, but you never know when the harassing situation will turn into hazardous one. They even endanger themselves. A few years ago, I was with Britney, Jamie Lynne, and Crystal in a parking lot of a pet store on Wilshire Boulevard, trying to put my car in reverse, but I couldn't, because there was a photographer clinging to my car, insisting he get a shot. I waited and waited for him to get the clue that I wasn't going to give him anything, but he was insisted. Finally, I knocked the car in reverse just a couple of inches to give him a strong hint that I intended to leave. That blooming idiot was hanging on my back window. I began to back out very slow, thinking surely he would jump off, and then I accidentally ran over his foot. Well, I really didn't run over his foot, or I would have felt it. But he accused me of doing just that and called the police. I was delighted to tell my version of events to the kind officer, who laughed when I suggested they follow the man to the hospital. He's liable to smash his foot with a sledgehammer and sue me for it, I said. Naturally, we never heard another thing about it, so obviously his foot healed fast. Britney has it 10 times worse than me. It's a wonder that girl hasn't run over dozens of paparazzi feet in her day. I've often thought it was strange that the tabloid media appears to break all kinds of laws and then threw their hands up in the air and say, "Hey, I'm doing my job." Clooney's motorcycle wreck wasn't the only accident caused by paparazzi, not by a long shot. There have been several wrecks that have happened because they were chasing Britney and sometimes Preston and Jaden. In Louisiana, it's illegal to endanger the lives of innocent people while in pursuit of a photo, just as it won't fly to park for days on end on private property. Members of the tabloid media who have tried that at my house have been escorted out of town by the police. Interestingly, what's legal and what's not changes somewhat in Los Angeles, or at least it seems to. There, in some experience, almost anything goes when it comes to the paparazzi and the way they prey on celebrities. The law appears to turn a blind eye to high-speed chases and invasion of privacy. Oh, but that's what you get when you're famous. The conventional wisdom seems to be: you knew this was part of the deal when you signed on to become a star. The truth is, we didn't. No one could have envisioned, even 5 or 6 years ago, the way the tabloid media would ramp up their coverage to the point where a star is eventually forced to release photos of his or her newborn baby somewhere. Otherwise, that celebrity's family members may be in danger from aggressive photographers. I can't speak for Tom Cruise or even Ben Affleck or Julia Roberts, but I do know my family did not have the faintest idea that someday our daughters would not be able to walk around freely in their own backyards without someone jumping out of the bushes to take their picture. I don't care how famous you are, that's an invasion of privacy. Fame does have a price, and part of that price is sacrificing your privacy to an extent, but where are the lines and what are the consequences if they are crossed? Britney has been accused of encouraging the media, of courting them in a way. I'm not going to speak for her one way or another, but one observation I have had is that she may not be courting them so much as just coping with them. If you have an incurable chronic disease, you learn to live with these symptoms the best way you can. She has 17 full-time paparazzi assigned to her, night and day, which means they are her constant shadow at Starbucks, at the grocery store, at a restaurant. Britney literally cannot escape them. They are in her life for the duration, so why not make the best of it? As far as I can tell, she has no choice. Under a microscope. Never would I have imagined how my daughters, and to a certain extent the whole family, would come to live under a microscope, and how the multitudes would become our judge and yours to proclaim to the whole world who and what kind of people we are. If I were to defend my family from every untruth and half-truth and twisted truth that has been printed or broadcast, this book would have to be expanded to a 10-volume set. People think they know us from all the stories they read, and so they feel it's quite alright to pass judgment. Sometimes the public's verdict, no matter how misguided, hurts, but I'm learning to deflect that hurt more and more. One thing I have learned, though, especially lately, is that it is a superficial judgment at best, a shallow opinion that just barely scratches the surface of the truth. Those who really know us know our hearts and what kind of people we truly are. My faith teaches me that God's opinion matters most, and that's what I hold on to, no matter what is printed or said.